Welcome back to Church, the podcast. Man, we're so excited that you're here. I mean, if you tuned in today, man, we have something special for you. I think we always have something special for you, but today, like what we have special for you, like I can't even tell you what it is because literally it's unknown.
Come on.
That's what we're talking about. Like,
yeah,
we're talking about the unknown today. Like, what is it? Do you know what it is? Do you know how it feels? And I think this is going to apply to several different areas in our life, in our walk with Christ, in our day-to-day interactions with people. What does the unknown look like in your life? What does the unknown feel like in your life? Does it cause fear? Does it cause excitement? The unknown, right? I think we're people who we have to know things. We live in a generation where we have all the information we need in the palm of our hand. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
I can look up anything. I know everything, but what is it that you don't know? Do you even admit it? Or is that a problem for you? Like for me, tomorrow's unknown. I mean, I can plan it out. It's on my calendar, right? I got things to do, places to be, but the truth is I don't know how tomorrow's going to go. I don't even know if I get tomorrow. Right. So the unknown can be a scary space. It can be an exciting space. And so today, me and Jason are going to take a little bit of time, unpack that. I think it's going to be a great conversation. So I'll kick it off with you, Jason. So how do you feel about the unknown?
So for me, I would say the unknown could be split into like two eras of my life. So as a young man, I did not enjoy it. So I even wanted to know what time we were going to have to be at birthday parties and events like that, even just with family where it wasn't going to cost me anything socially to be late. I wanted to know for sure what time to be ready and how much time I had. And I think if you would have asked me when I was younger, maybe even now, we could delve into this a little bit, but that hypothetical, like if you could figure out when you're going to pass away, when you were going to die and you could know exactly when it's going to happen, would you want to know? And I think my answer was always like, yes, for sure. I would love to, like, I want to plan things. I want to make sure I have my will in order. I want to make sure that I pass down my comic book collection to the right people, all those things. Like you really want to make sure that you can prepare because there's something about the unknown where it feels like you could prepare forever, but because it's unknown, you don't know if you've prepared correctly.
Yeah.
And so I think that's how I approached it as a young man. And I will say that kind of halfway through my marriage, my wife helped me unlock some things and really, she is so good about spontaneity. Like on a whim can just be like, hey, why don't we go do this? And the truth is sometimes it's like, hey, I need to stop by some more shopping. Can you take me by there? Now we hadn't talked about it previously. It's like while we're in the car, we're driving by. She's like, hey, could we do this? The truth is we can because we have time. She's not irresponsible. Like she understands how the day's schedule looks, right? For me, I don't know why, but that always strikes me as like, oh no, we didn't plan this thing. I don't think we could do it. I mean, I get it that we have 4 hours in between, this event and that event, but what if it took 5 hours to shop? I just have all these like what ifs and concerns and I would call it fear. So I think I responded to the unknown with fear. And there's been so many really cool things that I think God has done in my life, especially lately over the last couple of years, that make no sense. I could not have known. The unknown is exactly what they were, but they're probably some of the best things that's ever happened. Right? So if you had told me, tell me how many kids you're going to have, and that's where we'll stop, I would have said 4. We have 8. Right. And now that they're here, right, the unknown, now that they're here, we cannot imagine life without them. Right. They immediately become permanent where they're not before. And so that's one really cool thing about the unknown is like it actually can end up better. And so that's what I've had to learn as I've gotten older. And that's kind of the split in eras. I would say around the age of, I'm 38 now. I think around 30, I started even lightly embracing the unknown. I think we talked about this many episodes ago with adventure, right? And that's kind of what this feels like too, is like if you're adventurous, you're probably okay with the unknown because you're assuming it's going to work out well.
Yep.
An interesting thing about me is I am an optimist. I assume things will work out well and that God's in control. There's some mixture of optimism and control freak in me where I'm like, but I want to know what we're heading into so that things can end up the best possible way. And I don't know. I just had a hard time letting that go. So the unknown to me felt very scary. Now it doesn't feel as scary because I think maybe I believe even more deeply God's in control. I've seen his favor in my life. I've seen him protect our son. So our seventh son, or our seventh child, fifth son, Aiden, had seizures where he would have head dropping seizures and would like, you know, his head would drop, his eyes would close. And it's just scary to watch your baby. I mean, this was at, you know, a year old. And it's scary to watch your kid physically have no control over what he's doing. And you don't know what's going on in his brain. And we would go to the hospital and have, check-ins and nodes put on his head, and you know, you have to hear your kid screaming because he doesn't want to be controlled. So they're wrapping him up in this thing to keep him safe so he doesn't pull on the wires. But at the same time, again, lack of control, unknown, what are the doctors going to find? Totally healed from it. Yeah. Totally healed a few years later. And so now
that's so good.
Things like that in my life, and maybe it's just experience and I should have listened to my elders before now. But the unknown actually isn't scary when you know who's in control.
Come on.
And I release control and I let go of it and then let God. So to me, I'm okay with the unknown now. Maybe I have an unfair advantage or like unfair optimism about it because it's worked out well for me. Like for some people, the unknown, it can feel bumpier. And I don't want to be afraid of it is really the choice. Like, I could continue to be afraid of it or not. And so to me, even if some of it is scary, I choose not to walk in fear towards the unknown. I think the unknown is going to be great. And again, like this seems counterintuitive, right? Or not counterintuitive. This seems obvious, but it is unknowable. So something unknown is genuinely unknowable. And where I've gotten to in my faith is I'm okay with that. I'm okay not knowing and not being the smartest person. I actually think it's dangerous to think you're like the smartest person or that you're so wise that you know everything. It can be really dangerous. And I think it could lead you into the unknown and you don't even think so. Like you think you know what's going to happen. So imagine how shattering that is for somebody that assumes they know what's going to happen and then is surprised by it. What I'd rather do is just assume I don't know anything. Like God's got this. I know as little as much as high or as low as he wants me to, right? That's it. Like I know what God has allowed me to learn and grow in. And then the unknown is this other part that God's going to use to kind of build my faith, to make sure that I have faith in him. Yeah. There has to be an unknown because if I knew everything, I wouldn't need God. So that's where I'm at, is the unknown is actually this honoring of God and his plan for your life. So what does the unknown look like for you, man? I assume, so let me see if I'm right. And I'm not sure. I assume that the unknown you're actually really cool with, but I don't know. Let me find out. So what is it like for you? What is unknown like for you?
So you're tracking on the right, you're on the right lane there. The unknown for me is, it's quite exciting. It's quite exhilarating. And you already hit on it, but it's because I have an unfair advantage. This is the thing. I look at life and like, it's a journey. Like number one, I'm not interested in staying on earth forever. I understand this is not my home because I'm a believer in Christ. I know that my permanent position is in heaven. Right. So I know that's the ultimate goal. Right. And so what happens here, right, is a journey. And I don't know what's going to happen. The ups, the downs, the ebbs, the flows. It's going to happen, right? And so I used to try to hold tight to control. And you mentioned this as well. Like having fear of the unknown kind of means that you want to control. Like you got to control it. Like, and the fact is, even when we have control, we make a mess of things, especially if we are anticipating what's next. Sometimes we can make a mess. I love planners. I plan. I loosely plan life. I have a plan, but you know, those you know, and nothing against if this is you. I'm not saying anything against you.
Be careful.
But if you're the person who goes on vacation and it's like, okay, we're up at 8 for breakfast, 8:30, we're out the door, 9:30 is the first event, 9:30 to 10, 10:30 to 11. That type of person for me, I'm just like, grace, right?
I get it. Yeah.
And I don't want to like just have nothing planned, but I want to have it like loosely in there. Like, hey, let's try to do the following things. Let's be intentional, but let's go with the flow. If we go do something and then that something takes the whole day, let it be.
Yeah, right? Let it be. Yeah, let it be.
Let's life be an adventure. I mean, I've lived in about 12 states and in 2 countries. And so it's hard to have control when you are used to going to new places all the time. And so the unknown, just embracing it, like not having control is adventurous in most circumstances. I've been in some circumstances where the unknown was excruciating. And you touched on it with your son there. Like when it comes to our children and illnesses and not knowing what's next, those kind of unknowns can be a little, they can be uneasy. They can, but I believe they come to strengthen and test our faith, right? Whenever I had a situation with one of my kids where I didn't know how it was going to turn out and my hands were tied and I couldn't do anything, I knew where to go.
Right.
I mean, it bothered me, but I knew who to take my bother to. I knew who to take my worry to and then leave it there. And so when those unknowns pop up, it just reminds me that in my weakness, God's strength it's great. It's more than enough for me. Yeah. And so that's how I kind of navigate the unknown. But I embrace it. It helps. I think it helps us grow when we're okay with the unknown. Because I think if you are not okay with the unknown, there's some steps in life you won't take. There's some risk in life that you won't take. You'll just play it safe because I don't know what's going to happen. Right. I can't predict this. Right. And so I believe that life is for the living, not just for the surviving. And in order to graduate from surviving to living is you have to put your trust in God. And the thing is, you kind of know how that's going to turn out, but you don't know what's going to happen from the point you trust him to the point that it turns out.
That's right.
You know, the beginning is if you trust him, that the end is you're going to win. But there's a lot of things that happen between the beginning and the end. Right. They can be persecution. You can lose everything you've all the things that you think are most important to you can go away because of your walk with Christ. Right? Yeah. New friends, new way of living, giving up your old desires in your flesh, like the unknown of how will I deal with this? Well, God's got the strength for that. Right. And so he will help you live through that particular piece of your life. So embracing that, the unknown, I believe, helps us in our walk with Christ, right? It helps us to say yes to him and know kind of to the safe side of this is safer. I know what this is going to produce. And God's like, I need you to step into you don't know what this is going to produce, but you know that I'm in it, right?
Yeah.
So I think one of the biggest things that's happened in our lives, our friendship is kind of like where you are now. Like this summer was a lot of unknown for you. There was a lot of question marks. And even, as your friend, I was just on the sidelines, like praying, like God, give him, give him discernment, lead him in a direction. And I think that a lot of decisions you had to make just in the past few months, they were leaps of faith. Like you didn't know on the other side, like how this was going to turn out. Right.
Sure.
But when you put your trust in God, right, the unknown, right, becomes his will. And in his will is the safest place we can ever be. Yeah. And I think you can testify to that the unknown can be scary. But when you know who holds the unknown, you said that, I'm not going to steal it. You know who holds the unknown, right? Yeah. It helps you to trust more, right? It's like, I don't have control of what happens next, but I kind of do because I put that control into my Father's hand, right? Yeah. I trust him and I understand that it's going to work out for my good, right? Even if in the meantime, this is challenging and this is hard, I understand that this challenge and this hardness is for my good. It's for my development. It's for my benefit. And God's never failed me. And so that's kind of how I deal with the unknown of a lot of the unknowns of life. Embrace them.
Yeah, I think the best things are found in the unknown. Like when I'm reflecting on decisions in my life. So, wife, kids, job, like, and I actually am thinking about, and when I talk to students at a college level, they are so close. They are on the cusp of their entire future.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like. Like it is your launching point in theory, because from that point forward, you are just, what would you say, adulting?
Yeah.
Like that's it. Now you're finding out where you live. You're figuring out how you're going to get medical insurance. You're figuring out all these little things that we walk through life. And I mean, obviously I'm talking specifically about my experience in USA. But for students in the United States, like that seems to be this launching point is when everybody comes in here, gets into college, and then right at your junior, senior year, especially, you realize, okay, this is in May going to end. I'm going to walk across that graduation stage, hopefully, like we want that for everybody. But then what? Right. And so
what's next?
This really interesting thing happens. When I see confidence in the steps that certain students are taking in that unknown, they tend to succeed more readily. When I talk to the students who are afraid to take a step, or like, I don't know if I want to go to this grad school, or I'm not really sure. And like, it's the ones who move in confidence towards the unknown that end up having, I feel like, stronger and what people would probably categorize as better things happen for them. Doors open more readily. Why? Why does a door open more readily? Because you have to turn the knob and go through it. You can't just wait and say, well, something could be on the other side of that door. So it could be a birthday cake for me, or there could be someone waiting with a grown tiger that's going to eat me. So you play the odds game. What's going to happen as you walk through that door? We have no guarantee of what's going to happen when we walk through any metaphorical door in our life. We don't know if there's a dragon on the other side or if there's a prince or princess, right? We have no idea what's going to happen if you go to that grad school. What's going to happen if I take this job instead of this other job? And that's where real paralysis comes. When you have two decisions and you actually have to make one, and it's unknown how each of those will turn out, the real problem is we end up not choosing. We just end up not picking. Like we think that's a safety net, is instead of moving toward the unknown, I'm just going to stand still and wait and see if the answer comes to me. The answer is you have to go choose. And so you can inform yourself. I think it's great to have conversations with students. I, for one, always encourage them to chase. And here's the two doors. Ready? When I talk to students, and this is consistent across the board, it's, hey, so what do you want to do for your career? I want to make money. Okay, but what do you want to do? Well, there's this thing I'm passionate about. Ready? Here we go. There's this thing I'm passionate about, but I'm not sure it's going to make me money. So I'm going to choose this other thing that makes money. So students really genuinely believe they're choosing between passion and money. And what I tell them every time is, if you choose the safety of money, I think you will give up on that and you will run toward your passion. And here's what will happen. Here's this crazy thing that how our capitalist society built it. If you run towards your passion, you will end up making money. Why? Because you'll continue doing that thing long enough to figure out a way to have a career in it. But if you're really not going to chase it, if you're really going to settle, man, that's a hard life.
Ooh, it's good.
I think it's tough to walk through the door of safety because you think you're walking into the known, but you're actually not. Like, none of it's really known. You have no idea from workplace to workplace if a boss is going to be a certain way, if a job is going to go a certain way, if relationships that you'll form will be beneficial or not. And so all of these safety nets that like supposedly students build into their brain, I try to tell them, like, nothing is for sure. You could go get that really safe job and that company could shut down tomorrow.
Boom.
Nothing's sinister. They're not going to fire you. They don't even mean to. You just have no idea. So then it's going to end up being about the things you can control. Like, how kind were you to people? What kind of relationships did you form? What did you learn that you could take to that next job interview? And by the way, do you even want the job? Like, are you doing the job because of safety net, but really you want to be a stay-at-home mom? So like, hey, it's really going to matter about the relationships you form because like your husband's going to care how you act. Like he's going to care who you are as a person. So like maybe form who you want to be, build momentum. But like if you're so afraid of the unknown that you can't move, the unknown wins.
Ooh.
Like, and by the way, you get none of the benefits.
Ooh.
I would say that same is true in romantic relationships with kids. Like when you have children, whatever relationship is in your life, there are unknowns. You cannot control people. You cannot know what's going to happen in the future.
Ooh.
So inherently, every relationship you ever form has risk. Warren, here's the truth. Tomorrow, you could go crazy and decide, Jason, we're not friends anymore. We're not going to talk. I'm out of here. I'm offended. I'm offended by your t-shirt you're wearing. You know what I mean? Like whatever you decide. And you get to pick that. So the risk that I take, though I could decide how minimal or maximal that risk actually feels for me, because like the value of our friendship is worth the risk that you go crazy. Like the cost reward analysis I've done is it's well worth the risk of that unknown outcome where things go poorly in our friendship. The time I'll invest is well worth whatever the unknown looks like. And here's the crazy part. It's like, let's talk specifically about our friendship. That unknown part has continued to generate positive benefits.
Yeah.
I have felt encouraged. I have felt challenged in good ways. I have felt like we can push each other. And the other friendships I really value in my life are the exact same way, where when I bring something to you, I'm not sure what your response will be, though I trust that God's going to give you something. Yeah. But that's the best part, actually, that I don't know. So when I bring you something, it could be like, oh man, no, I feel you on that. Actually, like this is what, God would say it about this. And like, I just really feel like you're right in moving that path. Or you could be like, hey man, I gotta call you out. Hold on. Like what you're saying, is that just you feeling that? Or are you like sure about this? And what's God saying to you? Right? Because I don't have all the answers. But like, here's what you think. Here's what the world would picture as like a strong friendship. Every time I talk to you, you're like, I confirm what you're saying. Right? Every single time, hey, I agree, and you're handsome. Yep. Right? Yep. Every time you talk, hey, I agree, and let's talk about something else that's less uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's get back to talking about shallow things. And that has been so awesome in my life, is developing friendships, relationships with people that will challenge me, will have real conversations with me, will actually talk about the truth. Because just telling somebody something is okay every single time feels like at some point you are lying. You have to be bringing them something that's not fully what you think or the truth, or maybe you don't want to be opened up. Like if you challenge someone, it could change your perspective as well.
Yeah. Like
every time I challenge you, I might not be right. Every time somebody challenges me, they might not be right. So then we get to grow and change and I don't know, become more efficient in our friendship, become more loving, become more purposeful. And so that's the thing. When I ask you a question, I want to ask a question and know that I really don't know the answer. Right? And that's unknown. Hey, Warren, do you think this is okay? Well, I have to be open to the idea that you might be like, no, that's not okay. Like whatever you just did, no, that's not the answer. And here's how I'm feeling. And no matter how I'm feeling, I get to receive your answer, right? What you're going to say is unknown. And by the way, everything I'm saying, and I understand this as I'm saying it, I'm encouraging people to seek this. This is why people run from friendships.
Ooh.
Sometimes when it gets hard.
Healthy friendships, right?
Yeah. They run from a healthy friendship, which is one where can you challenge each other a little bit? And I'm not saying like, by the way, I hope I never have, and I hope you won't ever, but like, who knows? When you challenge each other, it's not like out of anger, right? It's like lovingly like, hey man, we might have this off, right? But I trust you enough in our friendship to like bring an opportunity for you to say, no, that's wrong, right? So it's not in anger. I don't actually think we've ever been angry at each other. Like, I don't think it's like, you know what I mean? It's sometimes like, what would you say? When you talk to people like this, it could be disappointing not to be confirmed. It could be confusing because you're like, wait, but I'm telling you, this is how I'm feeling. What's going on? But people really don't like that. That
people
unknown,
don't like that.
Yeah, that unknown of like, if you're not just agreeable, then I don't know if we can maintain a friendship. But here's the crazy part. When they do that, they destroy what could be a years-long permanent relationship the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It creates these fleeting moments. And then what do you do? What do? You retreat back to the safety of what is the known.
Come on.
Right?
Come on.
In my living room, as I watch Netflix, I can know the outcome. There's these serialized television shows, and I can know exactly what's going to happen. So I'm going to retreat to the safety of what I hope is a Hallmark movie life, where I know exactly, no matter what kind of turmoil, whatever kind of challenges the characters face, I know that in the end, it's going to end with beautiful snowfall and a well-lit Christmas tree. It's going to end with that character being totally safe and secure and potentially not having had to grow in a significant way.
Wow.
And God does not have that for us.
Come on.
Like I love a Hallmark movie for that reason, because it's like low stakes, high reward in terms of storytelling. Like it feels very good. But I think the reason that I like it is because it isn't like when I turn off that show and you live real life. That's not what it is.
Wow.
Like you have no idea what kind of conflict, because you have so many personalities. You have so many opinions that you're going to end up fielding day to day in a healthy life. Because in that same life where you're fielding opinions, you're also able to share Jesus with people in a real way. You're also able to build people up. You're also you're able to have real relationships. So that's what the unknown has become for me, is full of, I guess the word is opportunity. Like the unknown is full of opportunity. Yes, opportunities sometimes come with risks. They sometimes come with bumps in the road. But like you continue to persevere, and the unknown continues readily to be, I don't know, like a beacon of opportunity. Like I just see it as like, hey, I introduced myself to a student or someone at a church or whatever's happening, like new relationship can form or not, but it's an opportunity. Like we can crack that door open, and I'm not afraid of it because I know that it doesn't reflect me, because I know who God says I am. It doesn't reflect me when that opportunity goes sideways. When they're like, they're not interested at a certain point, or they have to grow in trust of you. That's okay. And unknown, I think, is really about, consequentially, it's about relationships. So anyway, that to me is what reads true, is like, that's been the biggest challenge. And what I've seen from people in my life, the unknown of like, should I jump off this waterfall? Well, like, right. It's a challenge. Like it's a fun, what would you like, cliff diving? You know what I mean? Like
how deep is that water?
Yeah, you can know. Right. You cannot be sure, but like people that have done it before can be like, hey, this water is deep enough. Just trust us. And so then you go do it, and it's cool. Once you trust the water, maybe you could do it a bunch of times because you trust it. Relationships, interestingly, they're not that way. You could jump off the cliff, find out the water is deep enough in my relationship with Warren, so we're good. And then I could jump off the cliff the next time with another person and be like, oh no, that water was way shallower, or like, you know, a lot of jagged rocks in that person's past.
Not the water you want to be in.
It was not it. Well, it's just water I have to be more careful in. I don't want to write people off, but I hear what you're saying. Like, not that I don't want to be in it, but I have to swim differently. I have to make sure that I'm like taking care of that person. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so that's what I think. Like it just, I don't know why the unknown rang is relational to me. If you want, I'm just opening the door real quick. We could get back to more fun topics of unknown. Like, I don't mean to be so heavy. Like the unknown, I love the unknown. This is weird. Maybe you can dissect this for me. I love the unknown when it comes to like big life decisions. I've always been comfortable with like, let's start a business. Like that's really unknown. Or I don't mind going to grad school because I prayed about it. I feel like that's what God has for me. I have no idea how this turns out. I don't know what job I'm going to be able to get. There's no guarantee of a job. And I was totally comfortable. And I was around people the whole time where it just felt like even as they're finishing grad school and they have this master's degree, which will definitely afford them something, there could still be fear about the unknown of where they're going to end up. And for some reason, I don't have that. Maybe it's just this like confidence level I've built or that I had to start out with. But the unknown, the lack of control of that doesn't freak me out anymore. Maybe it
That's
did
good.
before. I don't know. But now in life, I'm like, man, there's been too many good things that have happened from starting something unknown that like, let's do it again.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? So do you think that's my experience, or do you think that's like, maybe you're just born that way? Because you seem to enjoy it as well. Like it's only an adventure to you, but I know people where it's not an adventure.
Where it's tight.
Yeah,
it's
they need
tough.
to wrap themselves in what's it called? Bubble wrap?
Yeah.
Like they need to put bubble wrap on and then they can leave the house.
It's tight. I think for the most part, just kind of unpacking what you said, it's coming to a realization. And I think I'd hate to use the word maturity, but I'd say kind of spiritual maturity.
Okay.
That in life you get to a point where you don't take what you already know so seriously. And so, because sometimes what we know is a barrier to the unknown. It keeps the unknown away. It keeps us away from the unknown, and it keeps us in our comfort zones. We kind of talked about comfort zones earlier, right?
Yeah.
And so people who are adjusted to doing only what they know will succeed or what they know will produce something,
right,
they're less likely to do something unknown. Like, I'm gonna go get this graduate degree. I really don't know what kind of job I'm gonna get, but I feel led to do it, so I'm gonna go do it. The other person will be like, I've done hours and hours and hours of research, and this education will not produce this amount of money, right? So even though I feel led to do it, I'm not going to do it because from what I know is going to keep me from the unknown.
Ooh, wow.
You know, what I've researched and found out, it won't let me go into the unknown. This is also a barrier that keeps people away from Jesus, right? They're like, I know Christians. Are you serious? Are you serious? I know a lot of Christians, you know, they not what they say they are, you know, because I've done research and everything they tell you online, this pastor, this Christian, that Christian. Yeah, you guys aren't real. Because it'll keep you away from what you don't know about Jesus, right? Because only bad news sells, not the good news, right? We don't nobody writing good news right now, right?
That's true.
So when you hear or see people talking about most things, they're mostly talking about the bad of it, right? And so it keeps you away from, you know, people who won't step a foot in church, or who won't listen to their Christian friend, who won't look for the fruit in people who really believe Jesus, who are walking with Jesus' life. You know, they what they know keeps them away, right? So I believe that you come to a point where you don't take what you know so seriously. You're like, okay, I do. I know. So if I'm talking about Bitcoin and I'm not an expert, right?
Yeah.
And I can take my little bit of knowledge, right? And that can keep me closed off to that's all the knowledge there is.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know? And it'll prevent me from listening to somebody who knows far more than I know. Right. And say what I know about Bitcoin is all bad. It's all bad. It's all bad. People lost money, FTC, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That's it. Surface level stuff. Didn't go really deep. It'll keep me, right, from maybe an investment that could bless my life.
Yeah.
What most people know about Christians, or what they see on television, or the stigmatism, what all the bad stuff, right, will keep them from the goodness of God. Right. That it'll be a barrier there. So I think that when you're a person who leans into those things and like, I'm going to go, right. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'm gonna go. Right? I feel led. They don't take what they already know so seriously. Like, yeah, I know. Yep. That didn't work out for you. That didn't work out for her. But it's going to work out for me. It's good. I'm not going to take all this past knowledge of what you've been through and apply it to my life. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trust God with the unknown, and I'm going to go. I feel led to. And I think that's it's a part of kind of who you are, but it's kind of part of what you've developed. And it comes along with faith, you know, because faith is evidence of things not seen.
Right.
Right. It's like, man, this doesn't look like it's going to work. Doesn't look like it's going to pan out, you know, but God, right. The but erases everything that came before that. So you're just like, man, God's there. So obviously this can work out. This will work out. So the unknown, you lean into those different positions. And so what I try to keep myself away from is not being closed off to exposing myself to the unknown because of what I already know. You know, you get some education, you get some life experience, and you're like, man, I know about that. I know. Recently, and this is a funny story. Recently, I had a friend of mine who puts spinach in their protein shake. And I'm like, come on, that's gotta be terrible. I mean, it's a protein shake. Don't punish yourself for putting spinach in it. That's a bad deal, right? That's a bad deal. I mean, I've drank thousands of these things, you know. I don't care how you mix it or what you put in it. It can't be good, right? So my knowledge of you know, this particular protein shake, like, hey, don't do that. That's bad, right? Yeah. And then I taste it and I'm like, oh, guess I'm wrong. And I'm like, you know, now I'm like, hey, I didn't know that spinach. I didn't know it could roll like that. You get the benefits of the vegetable, and it's just the way you blend it. So something that I've been doing for years, I was able to get taught by somebody who, you know, just ran and almost wrote it off. I could have missed opportunity to learn something because of what I knew, because of the unknown, what I assumed wouldn't be good. So I think that keeps us from moving a lot of ways. I think that keeps certain people from not following their dreams, following Christ, living the life that God's called them to live, because they think they know, and they may have some background in it, right? And you probably see this all the time. The hardest thing to do is to teach somebody who's already been exposed to something, and you know, it's really hard to unlearn something, or to learn something the wrong way and then relearn it the right way, right? And so understanding, keeping the knowledge that we have already in check, because God may be trying to expose us to something that we have overlooked or misunderstood, or we're exposed to the wrong thing. You know, being lifelong learners. And so I think you kind of went the angle of relationships, and I'm going the angle of like knowledge and experience, because the unknown is scary. But the unknown, we don't know what we don't know exactly what we're supposed to have or what we would enjoy if we've never like tapped into it, you know? Like, I don't do graphic design, but I haven't written it off. Like, if I get an opportunity, you know, I'm gonna try it out and see what happens, you know?
All right.
You know, some people, you know, I don't play a musical instrument. Have you ever tried? You know, I don't like this. Have you ever tried it? I've run into this a lot with my kids. I don't like this. Have you tried it? More than once? Have you, you know, really gave it an effort?
Like, no, not really.
No, not really. You know, I hate this with politics, right? Because
here we go.
I don't like talking politics with people, right? Because if you're with a certain party, right, I've learned that it's about the party and not the policies. It's about the party. So you got to be careful, especially it's election season. Ooh, man, people hurt you. You know? For sure. So you got to kind of tiptoe around, ask some pointed questions to kind of see where you're leaning here. Where you leaning before you can even like talk politics or who you voting for. And I have no problem talking to anybody about any political thing, because I'm not married to any idea, any politician, or any party. I'm not. I mean, it's the world we live in, but I'm not going to fight you. But there are some people who will, I mean, they won't speak to you again. You're voting what? Oh, I'm gone. You know, they're like, no,
it's a religious level commitment.
It's serious, right? And my educated background will tell me that in the big scheme of things, every vote matters. That's what they like to tell you. But we live in a world system. And I don't want to get too deep, because I know hold on. We could go, right?
But
we could go, right? But we live in a world system. And so at the end of the sum total of the day, who you're voting for doesn't matter. Who you're living for really matters. You know, who your life really belongs to. That's what really matters. And so I just think that, you know, the information we do know can block us from the unknown, scare us away from the unknown. And it can kind of stall us out from leaning into something that maybe God wants to push us into, because we may think that or feel like it's too hard. It's not for us. It's not what we're called to. And so I pose this question to you, Jason. I pose this question to you. As you move closer to 2025, you know, and we're heading into the fourth quarter of 2024. So it's not over yet, but as you move into 2025, right? What area of your life that is kind of unknown that you may feel God pushing you toward in the future that may cause a little bit of anxiety in your life?
Okay. That New Year's resolution thing. Interesting, man. What areas in my life right now? I got to tell you, I am grateful to say I don't know of any areas that are like causing anxiety. I think it's like being a good steward of what I have is operating in the unknown. So what doors will it open? What relationships will I form? Like as I move into a ministry role here on campus where I'm at is, man, how many students are we going to have each night? And then here's the follow-up question. And why is that even important to me? Like those are the unknowns where like, it's really challenged me to be like, in an area where, you and I came from larger churches, right? And so in an area where like the youth group is 250 to 400 kids, something along those lines. Maybe it's like, let's say 150. But then I moved to an area down here where like an entire church service for people that is a lifelong church they've attended is 35 people. And so then when I have 35 students showing up to chapel, because of my experience, I'm thinking, and this was an unknown for me, I'm thinking maybe this isn't effective. Is this even worth doing if we only have 35 people? And then there's students talking to me after the service that are like, this is incredible. This is like my favorite church I've ever been to.
That's what's up.
And I'm thinking, man, it's just 35 people. I don't know what that looks, but at scale, this is like big for them. Yeah. This kind of worship, this kind of preaching where it's free and you can wear what you want to wear and there's no suits involved, like literal 3-piece suits or come as you are, like that truth of to Jesus, you can come as you are, like really seeing that operated in a church. That's good. Is really surprising people. And so that's really good. Here's what I caught from what you said that I want to avoid doing. I don't want to fill the unknown with false knowns. I think that's what people were doing. Every example you gave was, well, I know this about Christians because I've met one, or I've met a couple, or a Christian really, someone who said they were Christian really damaged my life. And so I'm going to fill this unknown about Christians because I haven't really interacted with a ton of them. I'm going to fill it with a lot of false known. This one person did this, so therefore I'm extrapolating all this to Christians. I can't possibly go to grad school because I talked to one person who had a terrible experience. So now all grad school's bad. I can't possibly travel because I talked to one person who they had a great uncle one day that plane crashed. So now every plane that I get on is going to crash. Right? Like you can't, you're filling it with false knowns. Yeah. But here's the hard part about false knowns. They are knowns. So then to be told they're false is really challenging for people and something to push back against. So what I have to ask myself to answer your question, what false knowns am I operating in? So things that I don't know. I push back against the false known of like, this is exactly how this ministry role will go. This is exactly how my role at Chawan will stay the same. This is exactly where my family will live. That's good. Right. And there's all these things that you can use for security. Right. There's all these things you can do to convince yourself, well, this is something I know is that we're staying at Chawan for the next 30 years. What I want to do is like, if God has me at Chawan for the next 30 years, what I'm going to do for this day that I have is treat it like I'll be at Chawan for 30 years. And if something new comes up, that's okay too. Yeah. Like that's how I want to live my life. Like where are you going to go where the Holy Spirit leads you? Absolutely. And so that's where I'm at in my life is like from today forward, because all you can do is today, yesterday, whatever I did. I think I did it yesterday, but from today forward and every day after today, am I trusting God with his plan for my life, but treating it like giving my life the momentum that this could be it forever, right? This moment I'm in. So I want to honor it as best I can, knowing that that may not be true, right? There could be more, there could be different, there could be, let's say, I say more, there could be less, there could be whatever that looks like for people. There could be change coming. Yeah. Am I open to change because the unknown has a lot of opportunity in it, or am I moving in fear? And so for me, what I have to do is go day to day. So the unknown we just talked about before, for me specifically right now, is a health journey. So the unknown is like, what is a healthy weight and lifestyle that I can maintain for the next 40 plus years of my life?
Yeah.
So I think I know, but what I want to do is not fill it with false knowns. I want to get there, walk through the journey day by day, and not be surprised by different things. Just keep moving forward. And if, like you said, somebody's like, hey, add spinach to this, I want to be open to the whatever the spinach is in my life.
Yeah.
Right? Like whatever is like,
That's good.
I don't know if I should add this thing. I don't know if I should take this thing away. I'm not sure this is a good idea. I need to be open to the spinach that somebody brings into my life.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would say is, I don't have real anxiety about any of the new positional things I'm doing as the campus minister. I feel good about the classroom. Everything that's happening with our family right now is like, I mean, I think it's driven by peace. I'm not like, let's say a medical bill comes, like that's not going to freak me out. With the upcoming election, right? I think dramatic things can happen in our country in different directions based on who's president. But what I want to be prepared for is what's God asking me to do. So I feel like the truth, the truth is going to be at such a premium that these false knowns, what I want to make sure that it happens is I move in the truth and don't fill my unknown with false knowns. Like I want to make sure that I'm doing my best to find as much truth in whatever situation that I can. So somebody said, like, depending on who gets president, there could be some type of civil war. And like, I don't think civil war is a thing that like could really happen like that necessarily, because I don't think Americans hate each other. What I sense could happen, and I'm not even saying it won't be peaceful, I'm saying the word revolution. Like that could be the thing that's coming. Like what will push people to realize we have to get rid of false and fill that gap with truth.
It's good.
Right? We have to get rid of lies and push what's actual, what's real, and what isn't, what would you say? Like make believe isn't the bad news being sold to us. Like what's true. And so I think that's going to become the real currency of our future, because if it doesn't, I don't think our future looks like what we hope it will.
Yeah.
And so I hope people embrace it. Like you talked about Bitcoin. What is the benefit of Bitcoin? I actually think Bitcoin is, to super oversimplify it, it's the first truth that we've had in finance. Like who actually owns something, who actually has what they say they have, who can't make more of it and make it seem like they're wealthier, who can't manipulate it, who can't move it somewhere where it's hidden. It's all right there on the blockchain. Like anybody can go see, and I can match my transaction IDs up to what you think, and you'll know right away if I'm telling the truth or not. Like I have the money that I say I have, or I don't have the money that I don't have. And that's exactly what Bitcoin brought to us. So that's what I'm excited about it. And I think that's what Jesus tried to do too, is like, I'm coming with the truth, even if it costs me everything, which eventually it will. And by the way, it'll cost me everything to your benefit.
Yeah.
Because that will mean salvation for you. But how much do we value the truth?
It's good.
Like what would we let it cost us? And so I guess I don't want to call it anxiety, but that's what I've been thinking about a lot lately, is how much truth am I willing to bring into this unknown of our future? And what will that cost me? Because again, it is unknown what the reaction will be from people, what will happen, but like how valuable is the truth that we share it? Because I think that's the way to walk in confidence and in truth into the unknown. That makes the unknown the least scary thing. That makes it the least scary version of itself, I guess I want to say.
Yeah.
So that would be my answer to you. Like, do you feel like you have an area that God's like put on your heart recently about unknown, or like anything specific that you're like, this is where I'm going to put some time and energy? For me, it's the truth. Like I want to make sure that in love, I'm not just catering to culture or people specifically, but like in the most loving way, I'm going to share the truth and see if maybe this Jesus guy was onto something about it transforming people's lives. So that's what I'm trying to commit myself to. What about you? What are you thinking about?
For me, it is, and you hit on this, it is the unknown of maintaining what has already been and being open to what is next, right? Not necessarily causing anxiety, right? But something that it's the unknown of being too comfortable.
Okay.
And knowing where that is, you know, not getting stagnant in my growth in Christ, in my growth in what God has for me to do.
Yeah.
Because to me, we have just a very limited amount of time that we're blessed with.
Yeah.
And I feel I have a great calling to do what God has called me to do. And I don't want to squander or waste any of that opportunity, that time, because you can't get any of it back. And so just the unknown of being on the right path and the right track and to be maximizing that potential, you know? And so that's one thing that, you know, I don't want to get stuck anywhere. I don't want to stay somewhere too long, and I don't want to leave somewhere too quickly. You know, that's just kind of the, you know, the equilibrium, the balance of, you know, and I guess you can kind of sum it up with just being in the will of God, being in the place that He wants you to be and doing the things that He wants you to do. And just kind of the unknown of kind of like just trusting God in those steps. And I've walked with God long enough to know that when He changes step, that I also change my step to be in step with Him, you know? And so whatever that looks like, you know, and I think you kind of hit on it with your analogy of being at Swan. Like I want to live this day. I want to operate in this day and work in this day as I'm going to be here for the next 30 years. And when God changes that, I want to do that thing as though I'm going to, you know, just as fully and as locked in as I possibly can. And so that's so good. That for me, that was so rich, you know, that to face it like that, to, you know, I don't know what tomorrow holds. And guess what? It doesn't really matter. Tomorrow's not here yet. Yeah. Today is what we have. And today is, you know, even the rest of today is unknown. Right. But what we're going to do in this day is be our very best, give our very best effort, and not worry about the rest of it. To release control to God and operate in it. So that's where I'm flowing in, man. That's where I'm flowing in.
I love it. I think it's good, man. I think that's just something I've realized is like the only thing we have that's permanent is right now, today.
Yeah.
And so you move in the permanence of today, knowing that like, who knows? But like, it doesn't really matter. The nice thing is when you frame life, it's helped me a little bit. When you frame life around relationships, then every conversation you're actively having is the thing that matters.
Yeah.
And then it's good. Move on from there.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about like when students are asking me about things that are like, I'm dealing with anxiety and stress. I'm not like, man, you know, I got to go home and like, make sure I do this piece of graphic design. I got to go home and pay this bill. You know what? I think there's a diaper to be changed somewhere in the world and I'm on it. But no, man, it's like in this conversation, how valuable is this? Cause I don't know how this echoes into their future. Cause I have conversations that echo into my future for sure. And so I want to make sure I'm giving them the respect of my real attention. Right. I know it's funny. People talk about being in the moment or mindfulness or something like that. That's my mindfulness, is like when I'm in conversations, I want to be in them. And so not thinking about something else, not maybe not giving it its due, you know? So anyway,
that's good, man.
That's been something that's helped me a lot. I think that's how we move into the unknown, is boldness, confidence, and like real attention to what we're doing right in the moment. Because then the unknown isn't this like scary thing behind you. It's just like with each moment, it is known, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. You're turning the unknown into the known by not focusing so much on the future, but giving momentum to the moment that you're in.
That's good.
So anyway, I think that's it. Hey man, can I pray us out real quick?
Absolutely.
All right, man. I appreciate you, brother. God, I just thank you for today. I thank you for the opportunity to talk about the unknown, to embrace it, to move in it, knowing that you're fully in control of it. I thank you so much for blessing our lives with the opportunities, with the ability to have faith in you, all moving through those unknown things in our life. I actually appreciate you leaving things unknown so that we would have a place where you are necessary, so that it keeps you close and in relationship with us. Thank you for what you're doing in our futures, Warren and I, and thank you for how you'll move and guide us as we move forward. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Love you, man. That was so good.
So good, man.
Man. All right, dude. We will see you on the next one, buddy.
Absolutely.
All right, later.